Yeah, yeah. Ball so hard, you better believe me, it's scary. It's basketball at the bar with Calvin and Barry. So put a tip in the jar, cause these dudes can really fill it up. Whether it's buckets you need or just a beer in a cup. We're here for fresh conversations and some delicious libations. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications. My boys got you covered like you being guarded by Peyton. From the glove to the claw and everyone else in between. Calvin and Barry got everything that you need. For sure. So sit back, relax, because we're starting the show. It's basketball at the bar. Grab your drinks and let's go. Yeah. Grab a drink and let's go. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Calvin and Barry. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. Let's get it.
What up, ballers? Welcome back to Basketball at the Bar. My name is Barry. I will be your host today. It is Thursday, October 6th. This is the Hair of the Dog morning show. Welcome in, everybody. If you're a basketball fan, make sure you hit that like button down below and please consider subscribing to the channel. We put out fresh NBA content almost daily. We're live Monday through Friday in the morning and every single Wednesday night for Wednesday night parties. On today's show, we're going to go over the NBA games last night. We're going to go over an early game this morning for Giannis and the Bucks. We're going to give previews on today's game. We're going to talk about all the interesting news surrounding the NBA right now, including the Jordan Poole and Draymond Green situation. And then we're going to go over the NBA injury report, as we did have some injuries over the past couple weeks, and we'll talk about what they will do as far as affecting outcomes early on in the season. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Let's go ahead here and get started. So before we dive into the games of yesterday, this is what's all over the news right now. The Warriors are currently reviewing Draymond Green's altercation with Jordan Poole at practice yesterday. This is an altercation that stemmed, I guess, from contract extension negotiations. Draymond is currently waiting or trying to get a contract extension from the Warriors. We've heard all sorts of things this offseason about how he'd be willing to go to Detroit or play with LeBron James or some of these other teams. He will be a free agent, an unrestricted free agent at the end of this upcoming season. Jordan Poole is in a similar situation. However, the Warriors, I think, have deemed him as a guy that they cannot afford to lose. He is currently in contract negotiations, and I expect him to sign an extension with the Golden State Warriors before the start of the NBA season. So Jordan Poole and Draymond were going at it verbally at practice. Apparently, according to some sources, Jordan Poole called Draymond Green a soft little B word. This ended up escalating into pushing and shoving, where Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole in the face, which is an interesting situation, right? I'm sure Steve Kerr's had experience with this. We know he infamously got punched in the face by Michael Jordan in practice. So I'm sure he's talking about that story today and how this can relate to the team and help fire them up for the season. But it'll be interesting to see what kind of punishment is handed down to Draymond Green, if it's league punishment, if it's, within the organization, and how this affects the team's chemistry. If you remember, just a few years ago when Kevin Durant was on this Warriors team, him and Draymond had a huge blow up, and this ultimately resulted in Draymond Green not having anything other than a 1-game suspension. However, Kevin Durant left at his nearest chance. A lot of people would say that has something to do with it. Everyone would say it has everything to do with it. And some people might say it has nothing to do with it. My opinion, it's definitely an interesting dynamic there. Draymond Green's a guy that you love to have on your team. You hate to have him on other people's teams, but I can imagine him getting into his own teammates' faces sometimes. And this is one of those situations. So we'll see what the Golden State Warriors, the champion Golden State Warriors, can do, whether they can turn around this situation. I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments. Let me know what kind of suspension or fine or anything, what kind of punishment you think Draymond Green deserves for this, because it's a crazy situation. All right. In other news, LeBron James reveals his first impression about super talented Victor Wambayama. Man, this was an exciting game 2 days ago between the top 2 NBA prospects coming into next year's draft, and that is Wambayama and Scooter Henderson. Both played well, but Victor stole the show with 37 points, splashed down some three-pointers. The dude is absolutely incredible to watch, and he is huge. LeBron James says everyone's been a unicorn over the last few years, but he's more like an alien. To expand a little bit, we can go look at some of his quotes here. Oh, and real quick, in that epic performance, Victor had 37 points, 11 to 20 from shooting, 7 three-pointers, 5 blocks, 4 rebounds. That's wild, man. That is absolutely wild. And this is against an NBA G League team, which, has a lot of talent on it. This is a quote from LeBron James. What do you think, or what do I think of him? Probably the same as everybody else thinks. Everybody is labeling players this unicorn thing. Everybody has been a unicorn over the last couple years, but he's more like an alien. No one has ever seen anyone as tall as he is, but as fluid as he is and as graceful as he is out on the floor. I mean, he's 7'4", 7'5", or 7'3", or whatever the case may be. His ability to put the ball on the floor, shoot step back jumpers out of the post, step back threes, catch and shoot threes, block shots. He is for sure a generational talent. And then he goes to expand here and says, hopefully he continues to stay healthy. That's what is most important for him personally, but you can tell he loves the game. He was smiling a lot while playing the last game. And I think those were the two best players in the draft class, referring to him and Scooter Henderson. Everybody seems to be a Victor Wambayama fan right now. I have not seen anybody come in to critique him. The only thing I can think of, right, is like what LeBron said, you got to stay healthy. We've seen guys, like the unicorn, right, Kristaps Porzingis, deal with injuries. We saw Kevin Durant miss an entire season due to a foot injury. Some of these bigger guys, they put a lot of pressure on their feet. Victor has all the talent in the world, but he does have to stay healthy. And I'm excited to watch him in the NBA. Whatever team he ends up on will be really exciting. Man, if he could end up on the Oklahoma City Thunder and him and Chet Holmgren run the paint next year, it would be absolutely incredible. All right, moving on to our next story. Jay Crowder. The Heat are interested in trading for Jay Crowder. Now, Jay Crowder was a member of that Miami Heat team that made the NBA Finals in the bubble before losing to LeBron James. He's moved around quite a bit his NBA career, starting with Dallas. Then he moves to Boston, was involved in that trade for Kyrie Irving, ended up with in Cleveland with LeBron, went on to play for the Jazz. He's currently a member of the Phoenix Suns, and Miami has interest in bringing him back. I like Jay Crowder a lot. I think he's a great defender. He can make some threes at times. Interesting that the Heat are trying to load up here before the start of the season. We'll keep an eye on this and see what ends up happening. In other news, Dwight Howard says he might retire because he feels like there are no teams that really want to allow me to play. This is an unfortunate situation. We've been hearing from Dwight Howard over the past few weeks his interest in potentially becoming a wrestler for WWE. He remains unsigned with a fellow former teammate on the Lakers, Carmelo Anthony. We'll see what happens with him. But he does not seem very happy with a lot of these NBA teams. Here's a quote from him. I want to play, but at the same time, there's like no teams that really want to allow me to play. That's how I've been feeling from the last situation with the Lakers. I felt like I did enough to help them win a championship to really deserve a spot on the team and a chance to start and get big minutes, and it didn't happen. So after that, I was like, man, I don't want to have to bust my ass for another whole summer, train 3 a days, go on a crazy diet, do all this shit, and then get back to a team and sit on the bench or not really get to help somebody win. Wow, that's a crazy situation. It sounds to me like Dwight Howard's not enjoying the process at this point. This is something, maybe he needs to talk to Carmelo about, because we all know what happened with Carmelo after he fell out of the rotation in Oklahoma City, moves on to Houston, gets cut from that team, doesn't play, remains ready, ends up signing with the Portland Trailblazers, plays well, and then goes to sign with the Lakers. However, he is currently unsigned. We'll see what happens with him. Personally, I think guys like Carmelo and Dwight Howard do have a place still in this league, but they might have to wait till some injuries catch up to some teams and open up some roster spots. But the thing that's most concerning about this article and this quote from Dwight Howard is it doesn't seem like he's enjoying working out or staying in basketball shape, which is really unfortunate because, you know, the dude is still a productive NBA player. He's not old by any means. You know, maybe in NBA terms he'd be considered old, but this dude is one of you know, the greatest centers I think of all time, athletically, what he could do defensively and rebound, and he just doesn't seem to enjoy the work anymore. So he just wants the outcome, and that's being a starter on an NBA team. That's a tough situation. I do want to see Dwight Howard sign with a team this year, and maybe it's the Lakers. You know, we saw DeMarcus Cousins recently come out and say that he wants a spot on a team as well. These are former All-Stars that are just searching for a place that will give them a chance. Dwight Howard, man, keep putting in the work, stay positive. I think you'll get a shot, but you got to be ready. That's the most important part. You got to be ready. All right, LeBron James. We'll go over yesterday's Lakers-Phoenix Suns game in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. But after the game, LeBron says he wants to own the new NBA expansion team in Las Vegas. A few weeks ago, we heard leaks about how potentially the NBA could be announcing 2 expansion franchises for the 2024-2025 season, including one in Las Vegas and one in Seattle. There were 2 preseason games in those cities. And no announcement has been made yet. However, after this game in Las Vegas, LeBron, he put it out there. He wants to own an NBA team. He is officially a billionaire, and he wants this team in Las Vegas. It's interesting. Here's a quote from him. "It's wonderful. It's the best fan base in the world, and I would love to bring a team here at some point. That would be amazing. I know Adam," referring to Adam Silver, "is in Abu Dhabi right now, and I believe with the Bucks in Atlanta, but he probably sees every single interview and transcript that comes through from NBA players. So I want the team here, Adam. Thank you." Wow. That's you know, no way about beating around the bush there. LeBron wants to own a franchise, and he wants that team in Las Vegas. The question for me is LeBron still going to be playing in 2024, 2025? It definitely seems like it with his recent contract extension with the Lakers and, you know, his desire to play with one of his sons, potentially both, considering Bryce is you know, skyrocketing up, you know, the talent boards. Can an NBA player own a team at the same time that they play in the league? It'd be interesting. We know MJ, when he came back, returned for the Wizards, he was the GM and the player, and a player on that team. And then he went on to own his own franchise with the Charlotte Hornets. This would be an interesting situation. This would break some records, and it would be a lot of fun to watch. LeBron James, the owner of the Las Vegas, whatever the hell they're going to be called, and a player on the team. He could end up drafting 1 or 2 of his sons on that squad as well. That would be pretty interesting. Wow, things are definitely changing very, very fast. Excited to see what happens with this situation. And I'm on board for more basketball teams and more basketball to watch. So I want to figure out what this team's going to be called, because, you know, we have the Las Vegas Aces of the WNBA. There's a lot of options for this team name. All right, moving on. The Bulls exercised the 4th-year option for Patrick Williams. This is the final year of his rookie deal. Because they exercised this option to bring him back, he will be a restricted free agent at the end of the year if they're not able to work out a contract extension. This allows them to re-sign him, or if he does you know, get offers from other teams, this allows the Bulls to either match that offer or let him walk. I like Patrick Williams a lot. I love what he brings to the Bulls here. But, you know, people are looking for a little bit more from him. You know, they want to see him take the next step and kind of become that defensive stopper that everyone touted him coming out of college. So we'll keep an eye on this situation. But good news for Bulls fans, Patrick Williams will be back for another season. All right, the Kings exercise team option on Davion Mitchell. This, just like the Patrick Williams situation, is a no-brainer in my book. Davion Mitchell has played really, really well for the Sacramento Kings. He's entering in his second year with the team. So they're exercising the 3rd-year option on him. They have another team option after that they can exercise next offseason. I expect that to happen. I expect Davion Mitchell to have a big season this year. He just needs to figure out where he fits on this roster. The Kings brought in a couple more shooting guards, and, with the trade of Tyrese Haliburton, this opens up some potential minutes for Davion as the primary backup point guard behind De'Aaron Fox this season. But Davion needs to take the next step. For me, it's on the offensive end of the floor. He had, a few highlights last season towards the end of the year where he played exceptionally well offensively. We know he brings the defense every night, but I'm looking for him to be a little bit more consistent of a shooter, a little bit more consistent just on the offensive end of the floor. I think he'll take another step forward this season. Whether he'll become an all-star, I think is a little far-fetched, maybe 2-3 seasons from now. But I definitely think this is the right move by the Sacramento Kings. And welcome back, Davion Mitchell. We're excited to have you this year, and let's see what you can do. All right, that's it for news for the day. We're going to talk about the schedule, and then we'll dive here into some injuries. So yesterday we had 5 games, a couple exciting games. All these games were pretty close, but some were more exciting than others, in my opinion. First off, you had the Indiana Pacers take on the Charlotte Hornets. This game was in Charlotte. Charlotte gives up 122 points after giving up over 130 in their last game, and were statistically the worst defense in the NBA last season, or gave up the most points. Aaron Nesmith, 16 points in this game. Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, 18 points for them. We got to see a little bit of Tyrese Haliburton. We got to see some Buddy Hield in this game. And we got to see Miles Turner, still questions surrounding him on what he will do at the end of this season, or if the Pacers move on from him before the trade deadline. He is on the last year of his deal. We also got to see both Ball brothers play as well, which is interesting. Lonzo is still out, but LeVar is happy seeing the other two play here. The second game of the day, we had the Cleveland Cavaliers take on the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers win. This was a nail-biter, 113-112. Tyrese Maxey, 21 points in this game. We got to see Joel Embiid play a little bit. We got to see James Harden play in this game. Both of them missed the previous game. And we got to see Donovan Mitchell in the new look Cleveland Cavaliers. I absolutely love both of these teams going into the season. I think there's high hopes for both of them. We all know what Philadelphia did, bringing in James Harden, trading Ben Simmons. They got the new Shaq and Kobe, or at least they could be. They have them on paper. We'll see what happens with that squad. They also added in ex-Rockets in Daniel House and PJ Tucker to help bolster that team a little bit. If Tyrese Maxey can take another step forward this season, which I don't see any reason why not, this team could be a legitimate title contender, and honestly is one of my picks to make the Eastern Conference Finals, that's for sure. As far as Cleveland goes, this is one of the highest teams I'm on as far as like a young squad. No, I don't think they're going to win the NBA title this year. It is maybe a year or 2 years early, but this team is making huge strides in the right direction. Another year for Darius Garland. It's officially his team. He's the point guard. Colin Sexton was shipped out in the trade for Donovan Mitchell. I like what Donovan can bring to this squad. I like Karis LeVert if he can remain healthy this year. Evan Mobley is entering in the second year of his deal. I expect a big year out of him. And Jared Allen is going to be his normal self, holding down the paint in the center. They also have guys like Isaac Okoro. Ricky Rubio is back with the team this year, rehabbing from an injury. So I'm really high on this Cleveland team. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. And not that they're a title contender, like I'm saying, but they're definitely on the right path. And I expect them to be a force to be reckoned with in the next couple seasons, that's for sure. Our third game of the day was the Toronto Raptors taking on the Boston Celtics. Toronto wins this game in overtime, 125-119. Precious Achiuwa showed out, 13 points for him, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum played their normal selves for the Boston Celtics. Celtics lose this game. They've been dealing with drama all offseason after losing in the NBA Finals to the Golden State Warriors. Questions about, their coach, their new coach, what kind of internal discipline will happen with them and how this will affect the team. Boston signed Blake Griffin last week. He did not play in this game, but it'll be interesting to see what he can bring to the squad. Boston does have some injuries on their squad to Robert Williams and some other players we'll talk about here in a little bit. Boston's a big question mark for me, right? When you lose in the NBA Finals like we saw the Miami Heat do just a few seasons ago, they kind of underperform the next year. They call it like the Super Bowl hangover, maybe the NBA Finals hangover. I think a couple teams have gotten better and healthier in the East, including Milwaukee and Philadelphia. It's going to be tough for Boston to make it back to the finals this year, but they do have a ton of talent on this squad. So definitely a team to keep an eye on. As far as Toronto goes, Scotty Barnes, Rookie of the Year, played incredibly well last season. We'll be interested to see whether he takes another step up this year, how competitive this Raptors team is up until the trade deadline, and whether they become buyers or sellers. This team, for me, needs a few more pieces if they want to be a legit contender. So if they're in the playoff race, I expect them to make some moves, bring in some more talent. If they're not winning games, if maybe Scotty Barnes or one of their top players, Siakam, is injured or something like that, they could be a potential seller at the deadline. So a team to keep an eye on for sure. Fourth game of the day, the Dallas Mavericks, the new look Dallas Mavericks, take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Dallas wins this game 98-96. Jaden Hardy, 21 points. Josh Giddey, 13 points for the Oklahoma City Thunder. No SGA. Chet Holmgren is out this year, as you might have noticed, due to an injury. No Luka Doncic in this game. However, new addition Christian Wood played exceptionally well. This dude is exactly what the doctor ordered for Dallas, and I expect the Mavericks to have a big season as well. Unfortunately, because they overachieved last year making the Western Conference Finals, I think some people might look at this year and say it was a disappointment, because I do not have them making the Western Conference Finals. Please, Dallas Mavericks, and Mike, if you're watching this, prove me wrong, because I'd love to see you guys in the NBA Finals. I think Luka Doncic is a legit MVP candidate this season, but I'm not sure if I see them going past the second round this year in the playoffs. We'll definitely see. As I mentioned, a lot of these teams are getting better and more competitive, so we will see what happens. But stoked for the Dallas Mavericks. I love the addition of Christian Wood. It's going to be a really, really fun season. And then Oklahoma City Thunder, they're battling for that Victor Wambayama sweepstakes. Maybe they'll win that, or they'll get the consolidation prize in Scoot Henderson. So we will definitely see what happens here. All right, and the fifth game of the day. This was the game in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena. The Phoenix Suns take on the LA Lakers. Phoenix wins this game after losing to an Australian team, the 36ers, on Sunday. They finally pull out a victory here, 119-115 over the LA Lakers. The Lakers bench has just been non-existent for the Lakers, right? When the starters come out, they lose games. We saw it happen with the Sacramento Kings. The Lakers were leading at halftime. They absolutely had a horrendous third and fourth quarter and lost to the Kings by 30. This game, they're in it. They lose by 4. We know Phoenix has been going through issues as well, right? Surrounding DeAndre Ayton, his lack of communication with head coach Monty Williams, what the Robert Sarver situation means for Phoenix and all that. It's a crazy situation because this team had the best record in the NBA last season before falling apart in Game 7 of the playoffs. Didn't even make it to the Western Conference Finals. And then we saw, this team lose in the finals to the Milwaukee Bucks just a few seasons ago. So unfortunate for Phoenix, but Devin Booker played incredibly well in this game, 22 points. And LeBron James, 23 points in 17 minutes. We didn't see Anthony Davis in this game. He was out due to some lower back soreness. We'll go over the injuries, like I said, here in a second. But, wow, the Lakers need to make a move here if they want to be competitive. Or maybe LeBron's looking towards his exit to Las Vegas to buy his own team. Maybe he wants to play for his own team as well. The Las Vegas LeBrons. That's my name right now. It would be interesting to watch for sure. All right, we got some games today, including one that already happened in Abu Dhabi. We'll talk about that here in a second. But before we get in there, I want to talk about injuries. We'll kind of go over the NBA injury list. As you can see here, many of these players are listed day to day with a little yellow circle here under status. Not really going to go over many of the day-to-day players because there are a lot of those and things change, right? There's soreness and all that stuff. We'll go over kind of the main guys and then anyone that's listed as out. So looking here at the Boston Celtics, currently a few different injuries for them. Many of you know Danilo Gallinari, one of my favorite players, an amazing shooter, out for the entire season after tearing his ACL. Quite unfortunate. He was a big free agent acquisition for them, and they brought in Blake Griffin now to replace him. Robert Williams, unfortunately, with a knee injury, another knee injury for him, which is quite unfortunate, is expected to be sidelined for 8 to 12 weeks after undergoing a successful procedure on his left knee. This sets the stage for a return for Robert Williams towards the end of the season. I don't think the Celtics are going to have an issue staying afloat until that point. However, Robert Williams has been a big part of their team, and they will definitely miss him. So as long as Al Horford can stay healthy and on the court, it shouldn't be too big of an impact, but I'm sure the Boston Celtics want to get Robert Williams back on the court as soon as possible. All right, Brooklyn Nets, big time addition. TJ Warren is still out dealing with the foot injury he suffered back in like 2020. Absolutely killed it in the bubble. That was his coming out party. I think he was averaging like 26 or 27 points a game. Was absolutely killing it. Has had a foot injury since then and has not played. It's been unfortunate. I saw some quotes for him saying the foot is officially healed. He's feeling better. He's just slowly working his way back, making sure that everything else works. He doesn't want to have an aggravation of that injury, or maybe he's babying that injury, and that's creating other stress on other parts of his body that could turn into a knee injury or something like that. So he is definitely working his way back slowly. I expect him to return to the Brooklyn Nets, probably within a month here, but we'll keep an eye on this. And the big news is Ben Simmons is no longer on this injury report. We saw him play against his old team, the Sixers. They did lose that game, but Ben Simmons no longer injured, apparently. All right, Charlotte Hornets. Scotty Lewis is out since July 8th with a foot injury as well. No timetable really on his return. It's going to be a while, that's for sure. Justin Lewis also out with I believe it's a foot injury as well, or like a toe injury, injured back in September. No timetable on him as well. And then Lonzo Ball also on the Bulls. Quite unfortunate. He had another knee surgery. This is a nagging knee injury that's happened or been bothering him for multiple seasons. I think this is his third surgery on that knee, but he says he's doing well. The surgery was successful. We'll see if he can return to that team towards the end of the year. All right, as far as the Cleveland Cavaliers go, Ricky Rubio, from the knee injury last year, they ended up trading him. He gets cut. He re-signs. They bring him back here. Hopefully he'll return by December, but he doesn't know. Obviously, Ricky Rubio is an exciting player to watch. However, he is a little bit older. He's probably there for veteran presence and not so much his play on the court. I really like this Cleveland Cavaliers team. I can't keep saying it more, but this team is awesome, and I love what Ricky Rubio can bring to them as far as leadership, and the dude still can play. So I'm sure they're excited to get him back. Fat Sunny TV, welcome in. Thank you for watching. If you got any questions, go ahead and drop them there in the chat. I'm going over the rest of the injuries here on the report. Going to talk about some games today, and then I'll be answering any questions you guys have. So go ahead and drop them there. And thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you as always. I saw the subscribe earlier. Thank you so much. Dallas Mavericks are looking pretty good. Only a couple guys here, day-to-day injuries. Denver Nuggets are looking okay after dealing with a ton of injuries here. Colin Gillespie, I think, is dealing with a toe injury at the moment. Suffered just a couple weeks ago back in September in training camp. The good thing is Michael Porter Jr. no longer on here. Jamal Murray no longer on this list. The Denver Nuggets are going to be a lot of fun to watch this year, that's for sure. Detroit Pistons, they're looking pretty good. A couple guys day to day. No Marvin Bagley on this list, at least not yet. A young team, exciting. We'll see what they can do this season. Golden State Warriors are looking pretty good here as well. One of the big guys not on this list, James Wiseman. After missing a couple seasons here, he is definitely doing much better. Had an amazing first game in the preseason. Golden State Warriors don't have any shortcoming of talent here. Iguodala's back. Klay Thompson's here. Good squad. Rockets are looking okay here. Pacers still looking good. Clippers, no John Wall on that list. That's always good. As far as the Lakers go, Anthony Davis did miss yesterday's game due to lower back soreness. We'll see how long he's out for. It says day to day here. The dude has dealt with so many injuries, prompting many people to call him nicknames like Mr. Glass. Quite unfortunate. The dude has all the talent in the world, but the best ability, as they say, is availability. Anthony Davis needs to stay healthy this season, and he needs to work on his shooting as well. That, for me, is the main point of emphasis for him. All right, Memphis Grizzlies. An exciting team last year. Definitely proved a lot of people wrong before dealing with some injuries in the playoffs. One specifically to Ja Morant. He is no longer on this list, which is good news for the Memphis Grizzlies. However, big man Jaren Jackson Jr. unfortunately had another injury. It's a foot injury, a pretty big one too. He is initially supposed to be out 4 to 6 months. This is a huge blow to the Memphis Grizzlies. That puts him potentially returning around January, maybe February. I think this team can definitely stay afloat until he returns, but definitely a big blow to them as well. And Danny Green, after tearing, I believe, his ACL or MCL last year, was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies just a couple weeks ago. He should be back here in a few weeks, potentially a month or two. Definitely can bring some shooting and defense to this Memphis Grizzlies team, so keep an eye on them for sure. Miami Heat are looking pretty good. The Milwaukee Bucks, Chris Middleton, we saw him miss basically all of the playoffs last year. He's listed day to day here. We need to see him back on the court. He is a huge piece for the Milwaukee Bucks, and if he can remain healthy, this team could go to the Eastern Conference Finals and potentially the NBA Finals. Joe Ingles suffered an injury last season. According to the Bucks general manager, he should return sometime in January. Could be a good acquisition for the Bucks. Good three-point shooter. Can also play a little bit of inside defense and a good rebounder as well. Could definitely help them fill in as well. All right, Minnesota's looking pretty good here. If you've been paying attention, you heard about the story that came out from Karl Anthony Towns just a couple days ago that he had remained in the hospital, basically at bed rest for a while, dealing with a throat infection, something that caused him to where he could barely breathe. Man, he lost a lot of weight. I think it was like 17 pounds or something like that. A lot of people are excited to watch the Minnesota Timberwolves this year with their addition of Rudy Gobert. Whether they can work together is yet to be seen, but I bet you Minnesota and all their fans are excited to get Towns out on the court as soon as possible to see what the potential of this dynamic duo could actually become. All right, Pelicans are looking good here. Brandon Ingram dealing with a toe injury right now. It is day-to-day, nothing really huge here. Zion Williamson is not on this list, which is absolutely huge for the Pelicans. They need him to remain healthy this season, and they will take another step forward. One of my dark horses for the season, for sure. New York Knicks are looking pretty healthy here. No Derrick Rose on this list. Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously Chet Holmgren out for the entire season, which is quite unfortunate. Nobody had them winning the title this year or even making the playoffs, so this probably helps them in their pursuit of Victor Wambayama, but unfortunate for Thunder fans and us NBA fans because Chet Holmgren is definitely exciting to watch. We wish him the best, and we'll definitely be looking for him next year as well. The Orlando Magic. Currently, Markelle Fultz is out. I believe he's dealing. Let me double check here. Let's see. I believe it was a thumb injury. Let me fractured big left toe. Ouch. Poor Markelle Fultz, man. The dude just keeps getting injured after playing exceptionally well in college and was one of the best shooters in the country. Absolutely lost his his jump shot once he made it to the NBA, dealing with shoulder injuries, stuff like that. Now he's got a toe injury. We'll see how long he's out for, but Orlando definitely need to get some of these guys healthy. Look at Jonathan Isaac. This guy hasn't played in like 500 plus days. He is day to day. I'm sure they're excited to get him back. This Orlando Magic team, a lot of question marks around them. A lot of young talent. They just need to figure out a way to put it together. But I'm high on them and their young talent. We'll see what they can do. The Phoenix Suns, all guys out day to day here. Cam Johnson and Cam Payne were both injured yesterday during the Lakers-Suns game, both dealing with, I believe, thumb or hand injuries, but they are day to day, so they shouldn't be out very long as well. Phoenix definitely needs them. They can't deal with any more drama at this point. Portland Trailblazers, Shaedon Sharpe is off this list. We saw him play in the 2 past preseason games, had an amazing block. Portland's an interesting team this year as well. You got the Spurs, and definitely not competitors this year. Toronto Raptors looking much healthier this season. Scotty Barnes, after being injured last year in the playoffs, not on this list, which is good news. And then you got the Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards here. Corey Kispert is currently out. Will miss approximately 4 to 6 weeks after spraining his left ankle just a day ago. So quite unfortunate for him. Wizards, man, I really don't know what the hell the Wizards are doing, right? You have a great player in Bradley Beal, but what else do you have, right? You brought in the unicorn in Porzingis. How do those guys work together? And can this team really stay healthy? This team has been riddled with injuries over the past, 5-6 seasons, including what happened to John Wall. Bradley Beal's dealt with a bunch of injuries as well. And then they've just kind of cycled through players like Russell Westbrook. I believe Dwight Howard was on this team for a minute as well. Man, what are the Wizards doing? I don't know. This is a year for them, right, where I think they need to look themselves in the mirror, maybe at the trade deadline or at the end of the season, and say, what are we doing? Is Bradley Beal our guy? How can we build around him? Or do we need to start over? Interesting. All right. Let's talk about today's games. One game that's already happened today was the Atlanta Hawks taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. This is part of the Abu Dhabi games. This game was really, really early this morning. If you don't know, I'm in Hawaii here. So, it's still morning. I know it's not morning where you guys are, but it is definitely morning here in Hawaii.
Hey, I'm in Hawaii too. Oh, that's neat. Aloha, bitches.
Sorry, I had to throw that out there. But unfortunately missed this game because it was really early this morning. But the Atlanta Hawks win 123-113 over the Milwaukee Bucks. DeJounte Murray was the huge offseason acquisition for the Atlanta Hawks. And he's been playing exceptionally well. Almost had a triple-double in this game in 30 minutes. Atlanta Hawks are going to be a very, very exciting team this year, and I think can do some damage in this year's playoffs. Giannis had a good game as well, 19 points for him. Obviously not his normal 25 to 30-point triple-double, but he definitely showed up. This was, we're finally starting to get later on here into these preseason games where teams are starting to play their starters more and more. So we'll see a little bit more competitive games and more of these starters or all-stars getting more minutes and putting up their usual numbers. Exciting game. I'm definitely going to have to go and rewatch this as soon as this stream is over. All right, as far as the rest of today's games, we have 5 more games happening today. The Miami Heat take on the Brooklyn Nets. This will be an exciting game. We got to see Ben Simmons play in their first game. He's not listed on the injury report, so we will get to see what he brings to this Brooklyn Nets team. Obviously, they have Kevin Durant, and they also have Kyrie Irving. Whether that big three can be competitive this year on paper, you look at their squad, one of the most talented squads in the NBA on paper. But paper's paper, right? You still got to play the games. You got to be able to put it all together. What can head coach Steve Nash bring for this team? And can he kind of get over some of this offseason drama and make them a competitor? Interesting game to watch here. All right, the second game of the day, a game I'm not going to be watching. This is the 36ers, the G League team, the Australian League team, taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. We saw them beat the Phoenix Suns on Sunday night. Quite unfortunate for the Suns, but they shot the lights out. The 36ers, we know where they got the three from in their name. They could not miss from three-point range. and it was quite embarrassing for the Suns. They take on an Oklahoma City Thunder team who is not really competitive this season, right? Their number one or their first round pick this year is out for the year in Chet Holmgren. We didn't see SGA play. He could potentially play in this game. We'll see Giddey out there as well. This is basically going to be a shoot around for me. But hey, if you're looking for guys, if you're a GM in the league, you're looking for guys to add to your squad, watch the 36ers play. They got some talent on that team, and I know at least one guy got signed to a roster after that first game, so we'll see what happens here. Third game, or actually the fourth game of the day if you include this Milwaukee Bucks game, the Orlando Magic take on the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio. I don't expect much from the Spurs this season, like I said, but if you like watching young players with potential, check out the Orlando Magic because they have a ton of them. They just need to figure out a way to put it all together. So keep your eyes on them. All right. The next game, we have MRC. This is the Israeli team taking on the Portland Trailblazers in Portland. We saw this team get absolutely worked in Seattle by the LA Clippers. Whether they can be competitive in this game is yet to be seen. Probably not going to be watching this whole game. I'll probably watch a quarter or two, watch some highlights, see what Lillard's doing. I'm really enthusiastic about Shaedon Sharpe and what he can do this season. And then you have additions like Jeremy Grant, stuff like that. Portland could potentially be battling for a playoff position or at least in the play-in tournament. Myself being a Kings fan, I'm going to keep an eye on Portland this year because it could be Portland or Sacramento that ends up making the playoffs. So definitely something to keep an eye on. The final game of the day, you have Minnesota taking on the LA Lakers in LA. Interesting. First back-to-back of the season, right? We saw the Lakers lose to the Phoenix Suns last night in Las Vegas. They play again tonight. Obviously, no Towns in this game as he's recovering from that throat infection. I'm not sure if we'll see LeBron out there tonight or even Anthony Davis, due to playing last night and Anthony Davis dealing with the back soreness. But I'm sure we'll see Russell Westbrook out there. So if you want to watch the Russell Westbrook show, make sure you tune in this game on ESPN tonight. Minnesota taking on LA. It should definitely be interesting. And I'm sure we'll hear a ton more about what it would mean if LeBron James owned a team in the NBA, if he was able to finally get a team in Las Vegas and all that. Definitely interesting. All right, guys, I think that wraps up the show for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful Thursday. Don't forget to watch all these amazing basketball games. Hit that like button down below. Please consider subscribing to the channel as well if you enjoy NBA content like this. We'll see you all tomorrow morning for another episode. Thank you, guys.